It's a beautiful summer's day here at McMurdo Station, Antarctica, and I thought we'd take a look at my favorite building on station, the McMurdo Dive Locker. Come on, let's go inside.
Hey, welcome back to the Dive Locker, Henry.
So this is the McMurdo Dive Locker. Here's Rob Robbins, the diving supervisor, and Mr. Steve Rupp, who's a diver here.
How are you?
And Rob's got about the best work center in McMurdo Station, Antarctica, and the best job for my taste.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love being here. You know, I might think about maybe I'd like to be a helo pilot, but they don't get to dive, so no, I like my job.
So this is the diving locker, and diving here is either in support of science, for all the different science projects that do research underwater, or diving is commercial type diving to repair the physical plant and infrastructure of the station, the sewage and things like that.
Sure,
right?
yeah, we work on the sewer outfall, the seawater intake, or the ice pier, kind of some of the things we do.
And we've got it easy nowadays in our nice warm dry suits, not like this gentleman over here. Tell him how he's diving and when that was, Rob.
Yeah, back in the 60s, the early 60s is when we first started doing science diving down here, and they used to use wetsuits and double hose regulators. They were certainly a hardier group of people than I am.
And speaking of the olden days, Rob, you're the person who has been longer in Antarctica than any human being ever on this planet. Is that correct?
It could be. I've been coming down here for 28 years. I have, 220 months or something on ice down here. So, yeah, I've had the benefit of having some longevity with the program.
Yeah. So Shackleton, Scott, Amundsen are midgets.
Well, they had their own place, I'd say.
So how many dives since you've been diving supervisor here?
I have just about 2,000 dives down here. Not quite.
I almost have 200.
Yeah, well, you know, we're right there.
And Rob, what's so magnificent under it? I mean, we see the footage, but for you as a diver.
Yeah, it's the thing that I really like about diving down here is the contrast, is the stark contrast between up on the above the ice, no life. I mean, it's all black, white, and blue, and under ice there's so much color and so much life. It's just incredible. In that contrast is really what's notable, I think.
Feeling of space.
Space is great. I mean, for one thing, you're just floating. You have neutral buoyancy, so it's kind of like you're flying, or you're in space. That's always a great feeling.
It doesn't feel like space; it feels like outer space,
exactly.
like a different universe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that is having that freedom. Really is really special.
Do you have the feeling of a separate reality?
I guess you could say that. I mean, they're just having the complete contrast between kind of normal everyday living, where you're driving piston bullies or going to the galley or whatever, and then
Normal life, right?
and then going under the ice, where it's just completely not just, there just aren't that many people that get to experience that, and you do feel like special.
Is it an ecstasy? Rob, can you speak about? There must be some sort of elation. Do you feel like an ecstasy?
I definitely. I mean, I really like doing this. I've been coming down here for many years because I like doing it so much, and the reason is the diving. It's not necessarily because I like working on the regulators. It's because I like being under the water, and having that feeling of freedom, and then just being able to see what's down there.
Werner, I know something changes in my brain when I dive, because when you see me diving here, if you see a photograph of me, one pupil is small and one pupil is dilated. And they're probably not like that now, but when I go diving, there's some kind of brain change that takes place. I know my body makes some kind of endorphins or happy chemicals. If I'm sick, if I got a cold or the flu, go diving in cold water, I'm better right away. So, and the whole day, it raises the mood, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's great.
Could we see what we are doing
Sure.
there?
Yeah, let's. We're at the end of our season here, so we're in the process of taking apart all the equipment, These are the regulators. At the end of the year, we take them apart to every single little bitty piece, clean them in an ultrasonic cleaner, and then dry them and bag them for use next year. This is of critical importance because this is the life support equipment that the divers use. We make sure every diver has 2 regulators, but this is what's keeping them breathing while they're under the ice.
If you make a mistake,
You can't make a mistake. Yeah, that's not allowed. So.
What about accidents? There have not been a lot of accidents or mistakes in this dive program.
We haven't had many accidents. We have had a few. We've treated a few people for decompression sickness, and we've had a couple air embolisms. One of them was a fatality, but that's out of the. Oh geez, since we've been keeping track of diving, which is only in 1989, we've made 10,000 dives down here basically, and so the safety of the program is actually quite impressive.
speak about the wonders, the fairy tales, the dreams.
Yeah, diving down here, I mean, it's spectacular. It just, again, a lot of it is just being able to see something that's quite special that most people don't get to see. So it feels like you're in a unique position. You know, you're getting to do something that very few people get to do, and so that's kind of special. And then being able to just float through the water and be weightless, it's very, very incredible.
Like the first one on a different planet with
Something
a different
like that.
form of
Yeah,
gravity.
something like that. I tell you, when we often go to the same areas because we know what's there, but we have to do some exploration just to see, hey, where might we find different animals or what have you. And being, the first time you dive in new sites is always kind of cool, just to see something different.
No one ever on this planet has ever been there before, and you know that.
Right, absolutely.
And you get the vista that no one had before you.
Right, yeah, no one's seen some of the things. So yeah, it's a great place, and diving down here is just really spectacular. Yeah.
What do you dream?
I tell you, I do have dreams of diving while I'm here and more while I'm at home. It's I miss being here when I'm at home a lot, and I do have diving dreams. It's great.
Is there some other world, some other reality, a separate reality for you down there?
It kind of is like that. Again, primarily because you're in a unique position, something that people don't often get to do, and it is so completely different than what I'm doing during the rest of my real life. So yeah, it is often feels like a completely separate reality.
But doesn't that feel like the real reality for you?
It has been my life, so yeah, it is definitely what I'm doing now. So
There's one thought that I had earlier this season. Just before I came down, I watched a documentary about the Inuit, formerly called Eskimos, up on Baffin Island in Canada, and it was called Diet of Souls, and it was about Eskimo shamans and things like that. And they had the old Eskimo shamans talking about what it was like to be a shaman on the sea ice, and they all talked about going down through a hole in the ice into the underwater world, and their whole metaphorical world of their spiritual other world that they went into was a world underneath the ice. And everything that they said was almost the same language that I use with my friends to describe this. So, if that's something that's hardwired into us and we are just the super lucky, very few.
Right, just being able to conduct that. Yeah, that is true.
I mean, under fast ice this season in Antarctica, in the U.S. Antarctic program, 11 divers, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Are there frightening moments for you? Frightening to discover things, or frightening of fright of danger? Or?
There are times when during the dive things do not go well, and often, when that happens, that's always frightening. Someone will lose complete control of their buoyancy, and so you have to ensure that those people get back to the hole. So it's those few times where you feel like someone's depending on you to get them out of a bad situation that always makes me very, very nervous.
The worst situation we get in is maybe we get a little cold water in our suits, usually for you or I, right?
Yeah, I don't get, yeah.
But more seriously, talking about it,
Stay here.
okay.
Stay there.
The more serious moments, disorientation, for example, what's happening then? Has it happened to you?
There have been a few times when I've lost sight of the hole or not. And you'll often maybe not see the hole, but you know exactly where it is. There have been a few dives where I was not sure where the hole was. And that's always very nerve-wracking. And what you do is stop the dive and find out where the hole is, because you always want to know where the hole is. So yeah, just 3 times that I can recall in my time down here, I've gotten in a position I really have no idea what direction the hole's in, and that's your heart really gets pounding.
It's the only way out. We dive without tethers. We're the only divers under ice in the world without a tethered line to the surface. Those of us in the U.S. Antarctic program here, ice is 20 feet thick. There's one place to get in and out, that hole.
Yeah. Rob, there is a nightmare out there for you. Can you describe it? The diver down under the ice, can you describe the real nightmare?
The one thing that you're always concerned about is getting back to the hole. You're diving under a thick 15-foot, 20-foot ice ceiling, and there's one entry and exit. You definitely want to always have that hole in mind, and you want to be able to know that you can get to it. That's the one thing that I pay attention to 100% of the time, every dive, that I know where the hole is.
But you have lost orientation?
It does happen. I can count 3 times in my years down here where I was unaware where the hole was. It's not that there's lots of times where I can't necessarily see the hole, but I know right where it is. There have been 3 dives where I have no idea where the hole is, and boy, that gets your heart pounding, and you stop the dive immediately. You find your buddy. You definitely want to figure out where the hole is. Your buddy hopefully knows where it is, and you'll find it again. But those 3 instances were certainly the most heart pumping times I've had under the ice.
If you do not find the hole, what sort of scenario is left for you? There's
only one scenario: you'll end up drowning. So that's not something you can let happen. So you have to find the hole. It's not like there's an ice edge that you could swim to or another hole someplace. You definitely have to find the hole that we've made to get in.
And the second diver, you never dive alone. The second diver, could he help you?
Oh, yeah.
Describe how would that happen?
Yeah, the 3 times I've lost the hole myself, I've gone to my buddy and communicated with him. I don't know where the hole is. And they'll say, oh yeah, it's no problem, it's right over there. No, it is a problem. I need to know where the hole is. So we've stopped, gone to where I can figure out where the hole is, then you can continue on.
Could he help you with oxygen?
Oh, if you needed to buddy breathe. I mean...
How does it function? How would you do that?
Yeah, we always have 2 regulators, so we wouldn't have to buddy breathe and share a single regulator. If someone was out of air and their buddy was there, they would just pass off their spare regulator to the person. The problem is everyone's pretty much breathing about the same rate, and you're both going to have to make it back to the hole. So there aren't too many
2 fatalities.
Right, there's not too many scenarios in which sharing someone's regulator is going to be an issue. The only time that would happen is if there's an equipment malfunction, and that has happened where you need to switch to your secondary regulator, or if your regulator free flows rapidly and you lose the bulk of your air and your buddy still has plenty, then sure, you'd share it back to the hole.
But you have to make sure that you won't make a mistake.
Absolutely critical. It's vitally important that these things work every time.
Rob, since there might be currents, is that a danger?
There's a couple places that we dive locally that do have tidal currents. So they happen once or twice a day, and if you happen to pop in when they're really ripping, we terminate the dive. There's been a number of dives where you jump down the hole, it's like, well, can't swim against this, and you just come back up. The danger is that the currents come up quite rapidly, and you can be making a dive, and then the current comes up. So you have to pay, when you're in those locations where we know currents are possible, you just have to pay attention and ensure that during the middle of the dive, if the current starts coming, you make your way back to the hole.
And in this world are diving under these conditions with tethers. Why? Yeah.
Yeah, we don't use tethers here primarily because the visibility is just incredible, hundreds of feet. And so we can see the hole. We put a downline down, we have flashers on the downline, and you can always tell where the downline is. Tethers, although they're a definite indication back to the hole, they do hinder the work that's done. So it's just not required that it's just not needed. We don't need them, so we don't use them. We're at the end of our season here, of course, as you know, Henry. You guys just finished up your last dive on Saturday, so we're taking everything apart. We have all our regulators here that we take.
That's mine, isn't it?
I think, yeah, actually this one is yours right there.
Yeah.
We take them apart into bits, just bag them up like this for the winter, and then at the beginning of every season we go ahead and build them up so everyone has a fresh regulator.
But Rob, the life of Henry and all the divers depends on what you're doing here.
That's exactly right. The
you-
regulators are important. We make sure every diver has 2 regulators, so there's a little bit of redundancy. But yeah, these are definitely a critical piece of life support equipment.
You're not allowed any mistake.
Not at all, none whatsoever. That's why I have Steve do all the repair work to them.
No pressure. Yeah, they're a lot of work, but after about 15 or 20 of them, it gets pretty old. But I've learned from the master over there, so how could I possibly make a mistake?
Let's have Rob show him the diving patch back over here.
Oh yeah, the patch.
So yeah, we were able to get these patches. A good friend of Henry's, Matt, was kind enough to draw these up for us, and Henry brought them down a couple years ago.
I take it from the film crew.
Let's show him the rest of this place.
Okay.
Who's this?